Make a Path presents Let's Talk Black Mass. Black Mass is the true story of South Boston bad guy James Whitey Bulger, his brother, the successful politician, their old childhood friend who is now an FBI agent, and a few associates and colleagues along the way, with most of the attention being on Johnny Depp's very magnetic Jimmy Bulger character. Now, I first heard about the Bulger brothers' story after finding out that the Martin Scorsese masterpiece, The Departed, was loosely based on the events, with Jack Nicholson portraying the Jimmy Bulger-like character. Now, a few months ago, I seen the trailer for Black Mass and I was hooked. Since then, it has become one of my most anticipated movie releases this year. But when the reviews started rolling in a few days ago, my expectations plummeted. Far too often we have movies that just don't live up to the hype of the trailer. However, this was not the case. I loved this movie. Every uncomfortable, slimy, informing second of it. But at the same time, I completely understand the complaints against it. I get that we don't get enough character development from certain characters like Joel Edgerton's FBI agent Connolly. And it's really lacking a sympathetic good guy to root for and rally behind. I think adding such things would have just forced unnecessary characters and scenes into the film. And yes, that's a risky decision, but for me, that was a complete surprising breath of fresh air. The acting, especially from Depp, is amazing. It's one of his best roles in years, hands down. And already, it's one of my favorite performances by him. There were a few moments between the FBI agents, though, where I really didn't feel like they capitalized on the tension. And there was something about Kevin Bacon. I love Kevin Bacon, but he was just there. And I know he didn't have a character that was bold and jumped out at you. He was there. I don't know what else to say about that. It was underwhelming. But again, they didn't give him a lot to work with as far as his character. And there is a lot going on in this movie, and I understand it's hard getting attached to a character when there are so many, and most of them don't even last long. But again, for me, this was one of its strong suits. I enjoy the simplicity in the small parts, which add to the complexity of the whole. And I don't need a few scenes of character development stuffed in for added dramatic effect. Just the facts. Bad guy wrongs other bad guy, and one of them has to die. It's just that simple. And this movie does cover a lot of time. They jump a few years in between events, which I had no problem with because it's telling a true story that dealt with these events taking place over a few years. But right from the start of the movie, I was pulled into the story the moment when Johnny Depp's character came on screen berating his associate about licking his fat fucking fingers and putting those same fat fucking fingers back into the nut bowl, which was meant for public consumption. That was my first laugh, and surprisingly, it was not my last. Not for a second was I bored or even checking for the time, and when it came to the ending, I was actually wishing there was another 20, 30 minutes. Give me 5 more minutes, and that barely ever happens these days in movies. You're always like, well, that could have been 10 minutes shorter. I have to say that the camera work and cinematography on first viewing was great. It really helped pull you into the feel of the atmosphere, and also that has to do with props, location, setup, you know what I mean? The props, location, scenes, setup, costuming, everything involved, blending with the cinematography and the camera work, everything worked really well to complement each other, and it really sucked you in, and some of them just simply looked so damn cool. The scenes, not the characters. Most of them are dicks. I feel like if you have ever watched a documentary on a criminal, mob figure, hitman, or so on, I think you're gonna love this movie. Black Mass won me over on the first viewing, and it will be added to my personal collection the very day it gets released on Blu-ray. I don't do a lot of movie reviews, but this is one that I would love some feedback on. Have you seen Black Mass? And if you have, what did you think about it? Put your thoughts in that comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn now.
Subscribe now.